What makes a place futuristic? Technology alone can't do it. Is it dazzling skyscrapers designed by the most in-demand architects? Is it lots and lots of money from investors to bankroll the innovation economy? Or maybe it's progressive policies offering a glimpse of a more equitable and just society. It takes the interplay of all these elements and many more to fuel the places of tomorrow. I'm Desmond Dickerson. Along with my co-hosts Caroline Styr and Rob Brown, we've set out to explore where the next wave of commerce, creativity, and culture is emerging. The proper mix unleashes potent, combined energies. This leads to an alchemy of advancement. You can see this in the innovations that have already changed our world. Production lines, automobiles, nuclear power, semiconductors. They all sprang from the most unlikely of places. Manchester was a small rural village before it became the world's first industrial city. Detroit was hardly a speck on the map before it became the epicenter of the global car business. Silicon Valley was farmland for fruits and nuts before the first seeds of the technology revolution were sown there. So where are the other unlikely places on planet Earth where the history of tomorrow is being written today? In places all over the world, glimmers of our future have begun. Some in fits and starts, others with radical reinventions. Places like Silicon Valley and Singapore have served as paradigms for cities of the future for much of recent history. But thanks to new workers, new technology, and cultural shifts, a new crop of places have begun crafting futures that will impact the world in the years to come. We've spent years thinking about the jobs of the future. Our work ahead in an age of automation, algorithms, and AI. Building from that, we've recently analyzed dozens of locations using a detailed methodology to pinpoint where we think these new jobs will appear. These places of the future are establishing landing grounds and beachheads for the disruptive technologies, services, and solutions driving the fourth industrial revolution. Cybersecurity in Tel Aviv has made it a hugely successful location for innovations around keeping data safe. FinTech has helped Nairobi reinvent itself with locally born technology innovations like M-Pesa. Esports in Dundee, Scotland. The tech-heavy worlds of video games have been fused together with design culture. Virtual workplaces fueled by Rootopia's huge cloud-based infrastructure investments were seemingly futuristic until the demands of COVID-19 thrust them front and center as places of the now. The immersive AR, VR, and XR technologies of virtual space are hot on its heels. In Kochi, India, local leaders marry tech together with green business practices, like the world's first and only solar-powered airport. Diversity and inclusion helped Atlanta, Georgia catalyze its innovation economy by embracing a rich mix of tech-savvy, culture, and talented people. As we explore places all over the globe that are shaping the world, we've enlisted local filmmakers in each location to show us the world through their eyes. Welcome to Places of the Future. In Tel Aviv, an energy of urgency hangs in the air. With no means of supporting itself agriculturally, the city has historically been forced to develop as a hub of sciences, commerce, and technology, a collective colloquially known as Silicon Wadi. More recently, it's become a hub for cybersecurity developments. The depth of history located in and around the city is palpable, but it's perhaps the discipline of its past that undergirds the innovative economy of its future. Caroline Styr went to Silicon Wadi to speak with the inventors, investors, and innovators of the next tech capital of the world.
Come to Israel and you will be inundated with history, religion, and tradition. Home to one of the oldest and most important religious sites in the world, Jerusalem, ancient Israel's roots go back 1,000 years before Christ. But in modern-day Israel, you'll also find the polar opposite, a high-tech, ultra-cool, liberal Middle Eastern city that never sleeps, not even on Shabbat, Tel Aviv.
Israel is a melting pot of ancient and modern, traditional and progressive, east and west. Israel goes by two distinctly diverse names which perfectly encapsulate these dichotomies: the Holy Land and Silicon Wadi.
Because of the second name, Silicon Wadi, you'd be forgiven for thinking that Israel simply follows in California's footsteps. But the original Silicon Valley has fierce competition in the sun-kissed shores of the Mediterranean. Hot on its heels, Israel ranks second in the World Economic Forum's Innovation Index and has more than double the venture capital investment per capita than the United States. Israel has the highest density of startups in the world, but it's also a startup in and of itself. Founded in its modern incarnation just over 70 years ago, Israel has achieved 50-fold economic growth without respite from its fight for existence.
I'm Caroline Styr, and I'm here in Tel Aviv talking to some of Israel's leading innovators and entrepreneurs to answer the question on everybody's lips: what makes Silicon Wadi a place of the future, and what is the secret to Israel's tech success?
לא הולכים בתל.
נועז.
חמימות.
חסרי בושה.
חוסר מורא.
ללא גבולות.
בלגן.
ישירות. אמיץ.
In certain fields, most especially cybersecurity, Israel's success is the envy of every other major tech hub in the world. This stems directly from Israel's history of innovation and entrepreneurship, driven by necessity. Historically, the biggest necessity of all has been security. For decades already in Israel, that has involved cybersecurity. But what started as a necessity evolved into a cybersecurity ecosystem that continues to attract tech titans everywhere and has firmly positioned Silicon Wadi as a place of the future.
There are over 350 R&D centers of multinationals in Israel. Most of them have started by acquiring an Israeli company, but keeping that core team in Israel and actually increasing and growing that team into their presence in Israel. Now, that teaches us that there's something happening here that is very interesting to these multinationals. And it's not just the depth of innovation, it's not just the IP, it's the mindset.
While most futurist connoisseurs would consider jobs like cyber attack agents or cyber calamity forecasters to be jobs of the future, to those on the front line in Silicon Wadi, they're already considered traditional, but certainly not out of date by any means. The Israeli Innovation Authority already labels cyber a traditional sector. Is a high-performing cyber sector simply a question of necessity for a state surrounded by conflict? How does the IDF's innovative strength spill over into the civilian sector?
Can you tell me a bit about your military service?
Yes, so I was part of the TALPIO program, which is you serve basically the Ministry of Defense for roughly a decade in technology leadership positions. What we learned in TALPIO is how to look broadly at a system and use those technologies to solve problems. And I think that is kind of what drives us here. So what I did at the Ministry of Defense, I headed the NAI section of the Israeli Air Force. It was fascinating work. And one of the things we did was try to speak with pilots to understand what are the mission critical needs, and then how do I develop algorithms, not just for the algorithm's sake, but to solve real world problems.
I was in the intelligence force. I can't tell you too much about what I did, confidential.
But looking back at the level of responsibility that I was given as an 18-year-old, it's mind-blowing. I had life and death in my hands, literally. So the fact that you're thrown into the deep end and you're doing things with such a level of complexity and risk, it makes you grow up really quickly.
A lot of weight is put on the impact that the IDF and the military has on the innovation ecosystem in Israel.
Yeah.
Can you expand a bit on that?
Well, if you think about it, the whole population goes through the military. So you have this in a very critical age. So you get those 18-year-olds right out of school. I think the biggest education system we have is the Ministry of Defense. It's a huge, huge role in why we have the startup culture and the startup environment. So I wholeheartedly agree.
What do you think the biggest lesson or lessons Israel has to teach the world, to teach other nations how to foster such successful innovation?
Draft everybody. No.
The impact of military service isn't limited to those who end up working in the tech sector. The open and indiscriminate approach to military service teaches inclusivity and acceptance in the workplace. And the soft skills that every individual learns stands them in good stead for any career path they might choose.
I actually didn't serve in a programming or an intelligence community. I actually was in the artillery corps in a special forces unit, mostly running, navigating. I learned that you can, stay awake all night and then function the day after, that I can carry a friend of mine on my back. I've learned a lot about what I can do as an individual. So that was an amazing experience.
Going to the military gave me my first management skills of how to deal with complicated situations and challenging situations. They working under pressure, something that for me was the best tool ever because I can see how I'm dealing with that every day.
The Israeli army is very supportive of the LGBT community. They're now recruiting transgenders. They're helping them to do the transition during the army. They can do it, and the army provides them with the hormones. And we have more high-rank officers, and they become very open. And this changes, again, the whole game.
If cyber is already considered traditional, then what do Israelis consider innovative? What does Silicon Wadi have in store for the next 10 years?
I'll say artificial intelligence applicable to a variety of industries.
I do think it's going to be AI. I think that Israel has a unique advantage, again, in AI talent plus connectivity to real needs, so ability to get data, get people to understand pain points. I think specifically in healthcare is going to be a huge vertical as well, but AI in general I think is going to be the big front.
I think it's SaaS, software as a service. Israel at the end is an island. We're surrounded by water and unfriendly neighbors. It's really hard building a drone company from Israel versus a software as a service company where it doesn't really matter where you're located. People can use you globally.
Tel Aviv is home to an incredibly diverse mix of startups. From creative startup JoyTunes, which uses a listening AI to teach people to play the piano, to medtech, with startups like ADOC delivering world-class AI solutions in diagnostics.
So Gloat is an AI-based career development platform, or as we kind of termed it, an internal talent marketplace that matches people through the AI with career development opportunities within enterprises, really any company, based specifically on their skills, experiences, interests, and ambitions. We believe that the future of work will have much more agile work across enterprises and startups alike. We believe that hierarchy, rigid structures like that are really, barriers to innovation, and that's something that Intermobility by Gloat really helps to break down.
What benefits do you think Gloat have for being based here in this city?
I think the energy here is very entrepreneurial. Everyone wants to help each other, which is something that someone originally from New York like myself is just not used to. In Israel, there's that existential threat of we need to all band together to continue the existence of our tomorrow. And I think that is what makes people constantly innovate, and they don't think about, what's to come in the same aspect. They know how to, not just party like there's no tomorrow, but innovate like there's no tomorrow, innovate to ensure tomorrow.
Part of the reason that Silicon Wadi is able to support such a diverse range of startups is the workforce's attitude towards flexibility, interdisciplinary skills, and a can-do attitude in any situation, often captured by the word chutzpah.
You've been called out as having a lot of gumption, a lot of chutzpah for founding Space IL and for your work at Flytrex. Do you agree with that perception of your character?
So a bit, both me and Amit, my partner, we take out all the preconceived notice and we just focus on what can and can be done, engineering-wise, business-wise. If you want to call that chutzpah, then okay, you can call that chutzpah, but it's more about what really can be done and what we think that cannot be done, but actually can be done.
It's a real kind of no limitations mentality.
That's correct. It was the same with the spacecraft. I was a young engineer, 30 years old, and I was like, sure, I can build a spacecraft. They've done that in the 60s. Sent the spacecraft with a human being inside to the moon. So, we're, so many years after that, we can do that.
Inbal Ariely's book, Chutzpah, is a must-read for anyone trying to understand what makes the talent landscape in Israel so unique. We asked her about the future of talent in Israel, and for her, it was all about interdisciplinary skills and a decreasing dependency on industry-specific workers.
I think one important shift that already exists in Israel, but we'll see more in the world, is of actually skill-based innovation versus industry-based innovation. So for example, you can start in cyber and become this expert data scientist in cyber, but then bring from that world an idea into healthcare, and everyone will be okay with that. Although you did not work in healthcare companies and you're not an expert in the healthcare industry. But what you are bringing is this skill, this expertise in a specific skill, which can be relevant to different worlds.
One thing that's impossible to miss when you're in Tel Aviv is the sense of community, of togetherness, of strong social connection. You can feel this social connectivity throughout the city, from the bustling cafes, bars and restaurants to the lively co-working spaces. In business, this translates into a very powerful network effect.
I think actually the IDF, the Israeli army, is the great equalizer here. People from all different segments of society, regardless of background or socioeconomic status, are brought together and they form relationships, incredibly meaningful relationships with people who they would never, encounter in their regular lives. And I think in that vein, there's some amazing programs to get more, minorities and women into technology, which is incredibly exciting to see.
The fact that we're so small gives us an advantage. I'll give an example from my professional world. I'm part of a WhatsApp group of VPs for customer success that I don't particularly know. I know maybe 20. It's a group of about 200 people. And we write to each other and we support each other. And if there's a new topic I don't know how to implement, a new type of product, a new challenge, a new risk, a new tool I'd like to use, I have this huge network of people that I don't really know, but they're all Israelis, so they're all my friends. And they probably know someone who went to the army with me. So it's really easy to collaborate. So that's definitely a unique selling point that we have as Israelis.
It's difficult to talk with Israelis about what's in store for the next 10 years of their country.
I'm not a good person for this. What's the future be like in general? It's not my...
Maybe that's an Israeli thing though, like you said. It's more about being in the moment.
I want to know what's going to be tomorrow. Is there a tomorrow? Are we going to be safe tomorrow? Like this notion of 20 years from now is always like, okay, 20 years from now. Okay, why didn't you call me then?
What you can be sure of is Israel will keep innovating to solve the problems of the world, from cybersecurity to healthcare to the future of work. The tech scene in Israel has marshaled a remarkable ability to be agile, to be malleable, to pivot, qualities that every nation, organization, and individual is striving for in the digital age.
So what can people around the world learn from Israel and the Israelis? On an individual level, I would say questioning everything, which is very challenging, but it's actually, when you think, it's built in with us. So connecting back to the root of this interest and curiosity about just anything, not taking anything as granted. On an organizational level, I'd say it's design a setting which requests, by design, people to work together. And on a national level, it's realizing that any individual, it can be kids, it can be teenagers, it can be young adults, professionals or immigrants, whatever, every type of group of people in your demographics, in your social texture, can bring value and can have positive impact on the society.
There's a lot to learn from Silicon Wadi. In the sweepstakes of places of the future, Silicon Valley better watch out.
In just 10 short years, Nairobi went from its first broadband connection to developing a fintech scene that leapt past the capabilities found in the US. Its unprecedented emergence as a tech powerhouse is driven by a city full of problem solvers, coming of age in the smartphone era. While those problem solvers navigate domestic challenges, they already have an eye on emerging international opportunities. With tech hubs and accelerators popping up all over the city and investors lining up to get in the game, Nairobi is in prime position to become a world leader in the digital revolution. Nairobi, Kenya, a city of creative chaos, where outsiders see disjointed systems and complicated processes. Residents here see ways to improve their lives and those of fellow citizens. Africa's center of gravity is shifting east as Nairobi emerges into a hub of creativity and innovation. I'll be speaking with entrepreneurs, corporate innovators, and educators about how they're all working together to make Nairobi a place of the future. The genesis of Nairobi's tech scene can be traced back about 10 years to the introduction of fiber optic cables. A key player in that was Dr. Batangi Ndemo. We're here today to talk to him about his role in government and in preparing young people for the future of Nairobi. Given your role as a professor at the University of Nairobi, playing a key role in building the future here, what role do you think that academic institutions should play in the future of Nairobi?
The academic institutions are very critical to changes that are happening in society. For example, now we are moving into the fourth industrial revolution. So we need to get more younger people who can take risks in terms of getting into new curricula and teaching what is relevant in the future, not today.
What other opportunities are there for the government to continue to push this trajectory forward?
The government must begin to spend more on research because young people are working on these new applications. If government cannot support them, they usually get desperate and sell their innovations at a very early age before they can realize the full potential.
A big part of being a place of the future is attracting talent, pulling people in. If someone were coming here, setting up a business and ready to get going, where would you take them so they could get a taste of Nairobi and really dig in their roots here?
Somebody who is trying to decide to be here, there are so many incubators, accelerators. You can go to Nairobi Garage, iHub.
Nairobi's emerging startup scene is creating immense need for office space. Traditional offices are a bit too expensive, while home offices don't quite offer enough space. Enter co-working spaces. Places like Nairobi Garage are emerging all over the city as hubs for creativity and community for Nairobi's entrepreneurs.
We're coming to the country as an investment fund, as an accelerator ready to invest in tech startups. So we sort of had the idea of, well, we'll run a kind of small co-working space alongside the investments that we're doing. It was really just by the by. But after a couple of years of doing that, we realized like, wow, we were completely oversubscribed. We as the investment fund were just like squeezed into a corner kind of thing. And all of these startups were kind of like taking up all of the rest of the desk space. So we just decided to pivot towards, running a kind of co-working space and innovation hub.
And is there something that you all have been particularly proud of the work that you've done through Nairobi Garage?
So much of the kind of startup and tech industry has kind of passed through our doors at one stage or another. So we have some huge companies that have been like kind of birthed out of Nairobi Garage. Branch is one of them. They do digital loans via M-Pesa. So they're like a huge company now. Like they've scaled like, over Africa and are doing like amazingly well. And they just started like 2 guys, 2 desks, Right
here at the Garage. Whether through startups or at large corporations, the fintech sector is driving Nairobi's innovation economy. I talked to Catherine Moraga of City and Bank to learn more about how that dynamic is playing out. Given that you're working at a larger bank here,
And some of the smaller companies, they're more agile, they're putting a little pressure, on the big banks. What are some of the exciting technology developments that are happening in financial technology?
I think if you look at Kenya and the mobile phone penetration, a lot of products have been layered on top of M-Pesa. So it's really exciting. For example, now you're at the supermarket, you've just done some grocery shopping, you don't have cash or you've forgotten your cards. I can clear your bill from the comfort of my office or at home. And just tapping into all this data that's being churned out to enrich things like credit scoring, because where SMEs are thriving, the economy will thrive.
So is this a part of the e-commerce platform as well, or is this just person to person?
It can be the supermarket settling its electricity bill. So that's business to business, again through M-Pesa. Or it can be a business, like a government agency, perhaps giving a tax refund to a person. So we've really grown, if you look at extending the mobile ecosystem to facilitate payments and lending and savings and investing.
How did Nairobi arrive at this place of digital maturation so quickly? Because really, just in the past 10 years, has kind of leapfrogged many countries, going from minimal internet connectivity to now, very robust mobile technology.
We have access to affordable internet. I mean, the network reach is almost 100%. And also, just government focus on ICT, that has really helped in terms of what you're seeing now.
What elements of the culture are really influencing and impacting innovation and technology here?
Infusion of art, and I guess videos. Videos have really been used to position products and also position their rollout.
Muthuri Kinyamu, video producer, marketer, and tech entrepreneur. He spent his whole career turning culture into content into commerce.
What impact is the art and culture scene having on innovation here in Nairobi?
We have a vibrant and creative scene, So from film, from arts, dance, and being able to, I think, combine that, or the intersection of that, like media, technology, and business. It's like a holy trinity of, how do we create, how do we serve, and how do we monetize? I think technology brings that. And I think narrative-wise, people are going against the tide. People are, the underdogs, have alternative distribution channels that they can be able to showcase that beyond the traditional media. So people have sort of, I think, discovered, alternative ways to be heard, to be seen, and to consume whatever is not mainstream.
What are some factors that you think could slow down the trajectory of Nairobi?
When you look at, where do you want to live? It's beyond the opportunity. It's the infrastructure, traffic, housing, connectivity, power, security, how's the healthcare, how's it generally to live, As we modernize the infrastructure, how are we dealing with challenges like garbage, pollution, all these things? And so I think we kind of now need a new blueprint to take us to the next level.
Policy can enable, and also policy can stand in the way. If you look at our small and medium enterprise, the problem is policy, which is not coherent across. You find the national government is taxing at this level, then you have a county government also with their own plans. So you end up messing up an enterprise that would have grown. That becomes a hindrance.
Nairobi has catapulted into mature digital enablement without some of the more traditional tech infrastructure. So what can other places with similar infrastructure learn from them?
The difference between Nairobi and other cities in the world is that you have so many young, educated people. God has given us so many problems that any one solution you create to the problem, you succeed. Because in entrepreneurship, we say an opportunity is actually a problem on the other side, which you need to look at.
Nairobi is bursting at the seams, and the energy is palpable. The population is expected to grow to 5 million in the next 5 years, and foreign direct investment is growing even faster. The influx of investment dollars and burgeoning population are combining with a youthful exuberance to create an incubator of innovation. As a result, Nairobi has 200 active startups with a thriving scene of co-working spaces. Nairobi's tech scene has been surging for the past 10 years and looks to continue, especially in the areas of mobile technology and fintech. Nairobi has all the key ingredients it needs to continue its growth into a place of the future. Dundee is the smallest town in our series, and it's ancient, but it punches well above its weight in output for the innovation economy. Nearly 30 years ago, Dundonian developers released the seminal video game Lemmings. Then they launched the Grand Theft Auto series. The continued economic and cultural growth of the gaming industry, coupled with the city's recent focus on design, will prime Dundee to have an outsized global impact in the years to come. Oh, and as you'll see, its food and beer scene also look exquisite.
Scotland. You might think of it more as a destination holiday than a cutting-edge tech hub. You might come here to catch a glimpse of a stunning castle, or maybe even a kilt in the breeze. Or you're here to try the culinary delights of haggis or a deep-fried chocolate bar. Or maybe to play a round of golf on one of the world's most famous and oldest courses. Well, today we're taking you to a Scottish city that brought you a different kind of game.
It's a game that, instead of reconnecting you with nature, has the power to connect you real-time with thousands of other players around the world in a wild virtual reality. A computer game. The site of the first ever university degree in computer games design, Dundee is now one of the finest hubs of innovation in the gaming industry. Today we'll be chatting to some of Dundee's tech stars and creative connoisseurs to understand what makes Dundee so unique and how it's preparing itself for success in the 21st century. Dundee is historically famous for these 3 J's, jam, jute, and journalism. Now, there's a 4th J in town, joysticks. And so 4J Studios found its name, a game development studio based in Dundee, most famous for developing the Minecraft console edition. We're here at the Water's Edge development to speak with founder and CEO Chris van der Kuyl about investing in Dundee's next wave of innovation and entrepreneurial talent. You were quite pivotal in getting Abate to set up the first gaming degree in 1997, correct?
Yeah, we'd really gone into games fully, 95-ish, but 1996. And their computing department came up with an idea to do a course in effectively what's today you would call virtual reality. We said to them quite clearly, look, we like a lot of what's on this course, but this course is turning out people for an industry that doesn't exist. Why don't you make it for computer games? And the answer really was embarrassment. Well, we're a university, how can we call something computer games? If we call it computer games, we'll be laughed at. And we actually gave them a sort of ultimatum and said, look, if you do it, we'll back you. We'll take as many people as you can put out the door who qualify for this. And within 10 years, by the time it came to sort of 2005, 2006, the university was putting out class after class of amazing graduates, and not only in programming, but in art, design, management, other associated skills within the games industry. As it is, with the very limited resources it has, it rates top 10 globally for computer games education. It's the only one outside the US.
We're at Abate University talking to games design student Connie Reed about her experience here. We spoke to Chris at 4J about setting up this course in 1997, and it's amazing to see through Connie how this course is still putting out innovative new games design.
In our third year professional projects, everyone gets a client to work with that's in industry. So my team, we were working with Microsoft on a project to help children with cystic fibrosis. So it's a way to get them to want to do their physiotherapy routines by turning that into a game.
Amazing, that's so cool.
They developed a sensor that attaches to existing physiotherapy equipment, which will turn their breaths into an input for a computer game. The sensor, it picks up their breath, and then if they're playing one of our games, they'll blow into it, which affects something on the screen. And then that gives them incentive to want to do their exercises because it's turning it into a game, so it's making it fun. When you're younger, you don't think that computer games are made in Scotland. You think they're made somewhere like Japan and America. Then when I'm thinking that they're actually made where I'm from, it inspires me to know that I can also do that.
One of the biggest challenges for this city is to ensure the successful renewal of job opportunity for Dundonians. Young talent like Connie exude a real sense of pride in being Dundonian and are placing their bets on Dundee being a place of the future.
We're here at the VNA Dundee talking to Philip Long, the director, and Miriam Deeney, learning coordinator, about their thoughts on how this design museum has transformed the city and what the future has in store for the VNA and Dundee.
VNA Dundee is, I think, an extraordinary symbol of success for this city. Let's remember that this city is slightly less than 150,000 people. As well as its many successes over its history, it has also experienced great difficulties. This building itself stands as a symbol of innovative design practices and was complex to realise. It helps contribute to a restoration of its pride.
Let's talk a little bit more about the building itself, about the architect and the kind of intention with the space.
Okay, so VNA Dundee's building is quite remarkable, and I think it says what a design museum should say. In itself, it speaks of innovative and challenging design. Kengo Kuma, the Japanese architect, was the choice to take the VNA Dundee building forward. And I think that was a fantastic choice. Why? Because I think Kengo Kuma is someone who perhaps isn't recognised by a signature style, but he has a signature approach, which is that he's very sensitive to the context of a place and how a building contributes meaningfully to, if you like, the psychology of the city.
I was keen to get another perspective from within the VNA, so I caught up with Miriam Deeney, learning coordinator for the museum.
Tell me about how you felt the VNA has impacted the city and the kind of impression that it's created here in Dundee.
The VNA being here is almost like a catalyst for the city. You can take it as it is, but it has created some sort of momentum in the city to kind of showcase what's been going on for a long time in Dundee, especially within the creative community and people getting together and collaborating to make things better for people in the city. People think I'm crazy, but I just feel like this city's just got so much opportunity and potential in it. No one knows what's going to happen next, but I believe it's going to be for the positive.
The food culture here in Dundee, from the 24/7 pie shop to fine dining, is centred around a pride in local produce and a focus on sustainability. We're here at the Newport restaurant talking to 2014 MasterChef winner and head chef Jamie Scott.
The Newport restaurant is located in Newport on Tay, so we're just 1 mile over the bridge of Tay, across an amazing Dundee.
Jamie, you're a big advocate of no food waste. What does that mean for you in terms of running the Newport? What does that look like?
So there's two parts to that. There's one, as a chef, I don't like to waste any food. And there's two, as the businessman who owns a restaurant who doesn't want to waste any money. Because I've got 25 staff to pay, everything that goes in the bin that I can see we can make money out of has to be taken into consideration. And also, it's got a massive impact on flavour and texture and kind of the growing of a dish. It also keeps my costs down for what we're using, and it also gives the customer a more enjoyable experience. And we're limiting food miles, so it's got an everlasting effect on what we do.
Dundonian weather can be interesting. Within the space of 24 hours, it can go from this to this.
This morning, we're here at 71 Brewing to find out how they are reviving the lost art of brewing in Scotland's fourth city.
My name is Duncan Alexander. I'm founder and managing director of 71 Brewing here in the old Blackness Ironworks in Dundee.
Ideally, if you wanted to try a beer, we should maybe taste the beer that's coming off the line today. It's a new beer, it's a raspberry and vanilla Berliner Weiss, something we're quite excited about. Nobody's tried it before, so yeah, you will be the first.
Cheers.
Oh, it's so good. I think it's dangerously drinkable.
Dundee was a very industrial city, and you know, when these industries left, as they did all over the UK, Dundee got hit really hard. And there was attempts to rebuild it in the, you know, the kind of industry in the past, and they fell flat. And I think, you know, to use the creative industries is something that gives it a real future there. So I think the reception that we have in the city is that we're now become part of the scenery, and people are quite proud of the company and the success that we've had.
You touched a little bit on what you think the future of the city is. Can you talk a little bit more to that? Where do you see the city going over the next 10 years?
I mean, I think creative industries has to be incredibly important. Duncan Jordanson, I think, has been producing amazing graduates for many, many years. So I think that was in some ways, it was a safe bet to start working with, you know, the creative industries as something to build a future on.
It's clear from talking with Duncan that the universities of Dundee really drive the city forward. I met with Maria McLennan at Duncan of Jordanston to discuss her role as a forensic jeweller.
If the jewellery that we wear on an everyday basis, our rings, our brooches, our necklaces, all of a sudden started being embedded with technology that started to report back or collate on a database something about us and our biometrics and our identity, there's something about that people just aren't so willing to embrace.
Might make your job a lot easier, but so far Maria is the only one doing this work, so it really is a job of the future. Maybe you could take us through a piece that we have here on the table and how you would handle it in your work in forensic jewellery.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a range of different pieces here. Some of them are handmade and bespoke. These items here, for example, we have a lovely ring and set of earrings. And these pieces have hallmarks and they're very kind of unique. One really unique feature of a hallmark is that it often features a sponsor's or a maker's mark, which is how we can tell who the item was made by. We can go to what's called an assay office, of which there are 4 in the United Kingdom, and that's where most jewellery is kind of brought through and it's marked. And the assay office keeps a very precise record of all of these pieces of jewellery. And sometimes in a criminal case, it's not necessarily about identifying an individual. It can sometimes be about the process of exclusion as well.
What do you think the city can do better to help retain the great talent that's coming out of Dundee's universities?
That's a really good question, actually. If there's some way that the university and the city can just further build upon that sense of pride and that sense of community, you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond sometimes, and there's a lot of opportunities if you stay and help give back to that local community. So I don't know the answer to that question just yet. I just know that there's something very special about Dundee. Yeah, you can feel very much that it is on the edge of something really wonderful.
Dundee found its identity as a hub of creativity, design and technology long before the VNA put it on the world map. This small city is creating a culture of innovation for today and tomorrow. Especially when it comes to technology's creative side, Dundee is the destination.
The next place on our list may prove to be the most important of them all. Yet, it's no place at all. In Rootopia, we explore the concept of working and playing remotely. It has the power to connect, but also the tendency to isolate when improperly implemented. The technology has been with us for years, but cultural norms spurred on by the necessity of social distancing have finally caught up. The concept is accelerating the emergence of our places of the future and has the potential to completely upend the way we distribute ourselves. It leads many to wonder, what exactly is a place?
Welcome to Remotopia, the most futuristic place in the world. From right here at home, or wherever the Wi-Fi takes me. But this isn't a new development in the wake of COVID-19, and it didn't just pop up in the last few years. French economist Jacques Attali predicted this 30 years ago, a world in which rich nomads traveled the world looking for their next gig. Thankfully, remote working extends beyond just the rich. Some do it from the beaches of Bali as they explore new locales. Others do it from small towns, where life is slower and their money goes further. I asked 3 people that have been working from home for years what Remotopia has been like for them. So tell me what you enjoy about working remotely.
The thing that I love most about working remotely is that I can work anywhere from any time. For example, working on this couch behind me is the best place for writing. If I'm doing any administrative task, I do it best with a cup of coffee and at my dining room table. And I just really have learned where I work best, and that has really helped me to live a very flexible and fluid lifestyle while working from home.
Without the commute time of having to go from physical space to physical space, boardroom to boardroom, really every virtual space is a boardroom now for everyone. So I can end one call and then in 10 minutes reset myself mentally and intellectually and be ready for that next conference, that next client, without having to travel across the county or across the metro area. Yeah, what I enjoy about working from home is it allows me to continue to provide essential services to my client on a day in and day out basis while also being here in this essential time for my family. Really, with technology, I've been able to turn my breadwinner aspect in employment into being the bread maker at home with my kids during this critical time.
I enjoy working remotely because it allows me the opportunity to balance both my health and my career. I believe it's important that we're building a remote workforce that's including those living with chronic illnesses and disabilities. That way, we too can be afforded the chance to both contribute to the workforce and still take care of our individual needs.
No matter how enjoyable the Remotopia arrangement becomes, workers must learn to properly balance screen time with convene time. As the home space and workspace merge into one, third spaces grow even more integral to functioning societies. These are the libraries, cafes, and parks. Sociologist Ray Oldenburg calls them great good places, where we can emerge from our solo endeavors to step out, connect, and recharge our creative juices for the future of work. But sometimes, it doesn't feel very futuristic in Remotopia. Organizations stuck in their old ways or just bring bad habits along with them as they transition from the cubicle to the couch. Leaders need new rules to make the most of this new way of thinking. Don't overstep boundaries or micromanage your team. Don't silo your remote workers. I didn't think about it like that. Good point. Instead, establish a rhythm. That could be weekly check-ins or a daily stand-up that brings team members together and encourages collaborative problem solving. But most importantly, don't forget to mute. Yeah, that's a great idea. Could you explain that in more detail for the folks on the call? Uh-oh. When done right, remote working has plenty of benefits for both workers and organizations alike. Cost cutting is the primary benefit. Some companies have cut costs by $11,000 per worker through reduced workstation expenses. Workers save too. Less spending on wardrobe, transportation, and childcare saves some up to $7,000 per year. Remote working policies also help win talent. 1/3 of workers would switch jobs to get remote working arrangements. And most important, it's proving productive. Remote workers take less sick days and are found to be 13% more productive. Remote work isn't just a short-term social distancing solve. Out of an abundance of caution, it's become the de facto arrangement for many of us. But Remotopia was already emerging as a place of the future. If you're new to town, just beware. The going isn't always easy, especially at first. But now is the time for your organization to experiment and perfect your approach to remote working. Because in the future, Remotopia is where everyone will want to be. The digital domain of Remotopia dominated workplace discussions throughout the pandemic. And the emergence of this concept sets the stage for yet another disruption to placemaking: virtual space. It can be found in the emerging frontiers of virtual reality, augmented reality, and immersive experiences for work, play, and everything in between. Across all industries and geographies, companies are already getting real results out of virtual space technologies.
As the tech evolves beyond its current positioning as child's play, it will move from the margins to the mainstream as an indispensable tool in the future of work.
Nearly 2 decades ago, innovators at Linden Lab here in San Francisco imagined millions of people arriving in a virtual place. Its name? Second Life. The OG platform for digital immersion, it was a learning ground for all the positives and negatives the medium could spawn. But no sooner had the excitement of Second Life peaked, it collapsed under the weight of its own lofty expectations. It's just one point of light for those boldly going forward to claim a new manifest destiny of the future by launching into virtual space. Today, the online big bang of COVID-19 means that everything that could go online has gone online. But in our isolation of remote work and living, we're growing increasingly weary of the flat 2D experiences of fumbling with Zoom rooms and goofy online cocktail parties. We're now yearning to break free and launch into something far more profound, three-dimensional, truly immersive, and virtual. Broader explorations of the possibilities of VR tantalize us. Cool or sometimes ridiculous mixed reality phenomena like Pokemon Go and the latest Snapchat filters pop up everywhere and start to become a canvas for mind-blowing levels of personalization. But writing it off as just a game thing is done at your peril. Virtual space will remake experiences in important and, yes, fun ways. And due to fears about contagion, interest in virtual and augmented space as a place where the future of work happens is skyrocketing. Lots of leading companies, from film, travel, healthcare, retail, automotive, education, and heavy equipment industries are getting real results.
What's being made now requires a very deep knowledge of technology. And it's much harder for people who are older and experience, say, celluloid and all the revolution that video caused, which was terrific. And that was in my career as a music video director. I fully embraced that because it made filmmaking easier. But now what we have is the technology is quite complex, with 3D animation, with VR 360, programming and coding and generative animation. People have to not only learn new technology, say with the cameras and creating the 360 space, but they have to learn these animation programs that are very complex, like Houdini. I found myself, when I was doing film and video, I started thinking about multiple screens, multiple realities, how to tell a story, on more than one screen. And I wanted to do something that had an immersive component. It's been an impulse that artists have really, really yearned to be able to create something that's quite immersive and transformative. I think theater and lighting, right? Just all these things are very important, but they're going to be rethought in this field. I even think, the famous Mercury Theater production of War of the Worlds that Orson Welles did.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit.
And radio was pretty new, and he conceptualized radio as being a powerful fictional tool that could create a world you were immersed in and scare the people. There's lots of things about this that will allow us to live other places, right? And it's just going to change a lot of things. So we are going to be different.
Bringing people together in a physical space is one of the drawbacks of the HMD world. And as much as we love them, we're all tech geeks at our core, is that it can become isolating. And I think that will change over time, but currently, you put the headset on and you're in your own little world. Here, what we're doing is projecting on the physical world. You can have 10, 15, 20, even more people all in the same location experiencing the same thing at the exact same time, and it's interactive.
It's fantastic, and I kind of know that the next chapter for you guys, it's already happening. You've taken a big box retailer and are repurposing the space.
What you're getting at is kind of the other side of the business, outside of the experiential, immersive side, is the use of space in the community. And our largest supporters are in the real estate world, and they're looking at the same problem that you just mentioned, where there's so much empty boxes, so many empty boxes, so many real estate, retail environments that really need community to come back to it, you know? So it's not just about the shopping, it's about what else drives people to a location. Before it used to be the movie theaters, and we see people kind of moving away from that a little bit, and then now it's going back to restaurants, breweries, gyms, the experience that we're building. Anything to get people back into the community is really the power that we think will drive the next retail wave, the experiential retail wave as it's being dubbed.
The missing piece right now that will make it explode is a wearable that doesn't make you look goofy. Right now, what exists are things that you're asking someone to put a device on their face, and there's a lot of resistance, understandably so.
I think that people are becoming aware of how you can take something that is static and make it very dynamic. And I think it has application in all kinds of fields, but particularly with our work with employee training into these new collar jobs, it can really pivot the perception of how, for example, a manufacturing job is dirty and boring, and really have someone see how fun it is to work with these tools.
You'll soon see jobs of the future leveraging virtual space that adopt influence from gaming, design, storytelling, deep analytics, and online commerce. We'll see many new jobs as a result. Roles like VR and AR journey builders, personal memory curators, haptic interface programmers, and virtual immersion counselors will take flight. While all of this sounds great, privacy is a key concern. And what if we create a world where we can't tell the difference between reality and non-reality? Or imagine a virtual world that you never want to leave. The Japanese have a subculture that they call hikikomori, which roughly translates into English as pulling inward. Like whiskey, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, and so humans will need detox from virtual space, like digital Sabbaths that can give our addled brains a break. And given this intensely visual medium, as the saying goes, the eyeballs are the windows into the soul, so ethical guardrails are necessary, proper, and essential concerns that are everyone's responsibility. Forget the hype. The dawn of virtual space is something that will become very, very big. If you think glimmers like Pokemon Go or even Second Life were a joke, remember, people thought the same thing about cloud computing 20 years ago. Indeed, the most surprising possibility about Second Life may be that it offered us an electrifying exemplar of virtual space, a place of the future that's already on the horizon today.
Kerala, India, specifically the coastal city of Kochi, is characterized by its distinctly mellow vibe. From the ecology of its gorgeous tropical backdrop to its mix of cultures, Kochi's an antidote to the frenetic buzz of incessant activity and growth found elsewhere in the established global tech infrastructure hubs of India, Inc. Its secret? The Kerala model, which focuses on sustainability and social growth, an approach that ensures education and opportunity for its citizens. Caroline visited Kochi to learn how it's galvanized the city for the future and what other emerging tech hubs can learn from the Malayalis of Kochi.
Since the 1990s, India has been a global leader in providing technology services to the rest of the world. But as the second most populous nation on Earth continues to grow, a new generation looks to new frontiers in which to stake its future. India is getting a brand update, setting its sights on high-tech innovation and entrepreneurship. And the southwestern state of Kerala is stepping up to be the home of high-tech in India. Within Kerala, Kochi is the place of the future that is emblematic of this shift, and maybe, one day, a paragon for India itself. I'm here in Kochi to explore this shift manifesting in India. We're turning to Kerala to see how everyone should be preparing for a future driven by innovation. There's something about places of the past and future that lie on western shores. Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, Kochi. Perhaps it's the historical movement of ships from east to west into port. Kochi was the historical center of the global spice trade, and with it came a mix of people, cultures, and religions from all across the world. The ports here are still part of the well-established transport ecosystem. Policy in Kerala has broken free from the rest of India's, contesting the idea that GDP is the single most important measure of growth. Instead, Kerala focuses on social infrastructure growth, with policy targeting things like education, healthcare, and life expectancy. This prioritization has led to impressive outcomes, resulting in academics and economists coining the term the Kerala model. People from Kerala, Malayalis, enjoy a quality of life akin to many leading developed countries. The average life expectancy was measured at 75 years, compared to 64 across the rest of India. In education, Kerala has a 94% literacy rate compared to the national average of 74. Kerala has been catching up fast to the developed world since independence in 1947. I spoke with the leaders of Kochi's biannual arts festival, the only biennale in India, about the Kochi lifestyle and how to equip people with the skills of the future.
Why don't you start by telling me what the Biennale is and why it's here in Kochi?
So the term Biennale means once in 2 years, basically. And the whole idea of the Kochi Biennale was to build an amazing exhibition for visual arts, where people can really celebrate the visual arts, not be stuck by barriers of two-dimensionality, medium, the pressures of a market, of what would, appeal to a few and not to a few. So the whole idea was built across, what a Biennale can bring to a city and impact.
The talent here in Kochi will be have the cutting edge because it's grown up in a place that really puts cultural education, the creative education at the center, whilst also being a technology hub. Do you think that makes people here quite unique?
Absolutely. I think that becomes a very important thing that you take back. You look at the IT boom in Bangalore, creativity was not very strong. So you have a lot of people outsourcing people from Bangalore when it became the Silicon Valley. Things have moved to Hyderabad. Again, it's the same problem where I see the difference in Kochi here, where people there was the most amazing makerspace here, and the maker movement was invented, started off in Bangalore, but actually the innovation hub here has sort of taken on and much faster than it has in Bangalore or anywhere else.
Thanks to the Kerala model, Kochi is a city with an extraordinarily popular way of life. Unlike other Indian cities that are bursting at the seams, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Bangalore, for example, Kochi is definitively more mellow. As Kochi continues to grow towards a place of the future, the city has plans to ensure that this special Kochi vibe doesn't fade away. One of the biggest lessons learned from larger Indian cities is the need to retain green space across the city, even in the tech hubs. Whilst a blade of grass is hard to come by in other Indian tech metropolises, Kerala is lusciously green. Sustainability is a huge focus for Kochi. It's home to the only airport powered on solar energy. Because of this impressive achievement, Kochi Airport won the United Nations' highest environmental honour in 2018, the prestigious Champions of the Earth Award. Other cities should pay close attention. We talked to the director of Kochi's solar-powered international airport about how it's helping Kochi do business and about Kerala's green future.
2015, we became the first airport in the world completely powered by solar energy. We produced almost 146,000 units of power every day, and we consume about 120,000 units per day. So we have a surplus. We produce about 40 megawatts of power. And as the requirement goes, we are buying land elsewhere and producing solar power. So we will remain as a 100% solar airport for the years to come also.
It might be easy to get into Kochi through the impressive airport, but it's also easy to get out. One crucial and persistent challenge for continued growth in Kochi is brain drain. Currently, there aren't enough job opportunities for the number of highly skilled knowledge workers that Kerala itself creates. In reality, the state runs on remittances. How will Kochi address this brain drain? Or is there a positive side to the global movement of Malayalis that cannot be overlooked?
Obviously, because I think once major companies come here, you will not see this brain drain happening. They all come back. So they will come back with a better knowledge also. But we anticipate that major companies will set up shop here.
The future of work hinges on a powerful network effect that drives clusters of talent all around the world. Top-down hierarchies are a thing of the past. Kochi's budding technology ecosystem is ready to take full advantage of this shift from hierarchy to wirarchy. There's an impressive network of spaces in the growing tech hubs of the city, and we're going to explore a few of them. First up, the growing startup and incubation space at Kerala Startup Mission, which after the completion of 3 more projects will be the largest in the world. Why don't we start by just explaining what Kerala Startup Mission is and why it's based here in Kochi.
Kerala Startup Mission is primarily to develop a tech ecosystem in the state of Kerala. So you are looking at developing hardware companies, software companies who work in multiple domains. We have presence across Kerala, but our largest facility is in Kochi. And Startup Mission works at multiple levels, right from school level onwards, because the spirit of innovation is basically what is going to drive the next stage of the future. And so we work with schools where we put them with students with interesting problems. And when we come to the colleges, we set up small innovation entrepreneurship development cells where people can actually try out those innovative ideas into an entrepreneurial framework. And for that, we provide the infrastructure support and things like that. And we have set up a set of infrastructure facilities. For example, the largest fab lab, super fab lab outside MIT, set up by MIT is in Kochi. And this actually helps companies who are getting into high-end hardware manufacturing, companies who are getting into embedded systems and things like that.
So you see the investment in companies in Kochi and Kerala more generally rising very much over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we build this startup ecosystem more by brick, like right from lower level we build it, and the ecosystem has actually reached a level of maturity now, and now it's in the stages of taking off.
I met with some of Kochi's leading investors and entrepreneurs in another area, the Info Park, to understand why money is pouring into the tech ecosystem here and what the impact of further infrastructure development will be on the future of Kochi.
And so the government said, whatever you want, however you want to do it, we'll help you. So that flexibility helped. We were setting up a small 50-member team. It's not going to be that hard to find people. So we have grown, we're about 250, 300 people, and mostly locally sourced.
Cochin is a very cosmopolitan place. So you have got people from all sort of culture. If you look at the religion here, it is Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all of the things are balanced here. And the people are very friendly in that sense. And you have all sort of people from all different parts of India also coexisting here for centuries. And also, its connectivity is really good.
Kochi has been a great choice for us so far.
So let's zoom out to Kochi more widely. What do you think the future has in store for Kochi as a city?
We are very well connected. We are connected with Malaysia 4 times a day, Singapore 2 times a day, Dubai, it's about 14 flights a day. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years' time, you will have this Air Kerala starting with the seaplane operations. The whole of Kerala, you have backwaters, rivers. We have 41 rivers flowing into the Arabian Sea. So those rivers and the canals could be utilized for the landing of the seaplane.
It's no wonder that Kochi is a must-visit tourist destination. The green space, the chilled-out vibe, the Biennale. But what makes this place unique, the unparalleled focus on social infrastructure, is transforming the city into a hub of technology and innovation. Kochi offers an alternative model for India, one that can accelerate it into a new, more sustainable future of work. Kochi, the place of the future, challenging the status quo that might just come out winning.
Atlanta, Georgia is a place that's finding its footing in the tech ecosystem of tomorrow, driven by the cultural currency of today. It's become especially attractive to workers immigrating from Silicon Valley as a result of the rise in remote work. But the city isn't just an also-ran or a second choice. It's particularly important to me as a place of the future because it's a place I call home. After traveling all around the world in search of the future, I arrived right back here where it all started. What makes Atlanta so special? Its uniquely creative and inclusive culture is already changing the face of innovation and providing a blueprint for other emerging ecosystems of commerce. All this while wrestling with the growing pains of crippling traffic and displacement of citizens. Successfully navigating this phase of transition will take a coalition of thinkers, dreamers, and doers. Atlanta, Georgia, the city in a forest, home to the busiest airport in the world, trap music, a food scene as dynamic and diverse as its growing population, and of late, a burgeoning tech and innovation community. Today, we'll be talking to movers and shakers in Atlanta's cultural, tech, and business scene about why Atlanta is a place of the future.
Our closeness to really the pulse of creativity, culture really influences what people are building here, and I think it's super special.
For me in Atlanta, it all boils down to people. Like, really interesting people are drawn to this place.
There are some cultural eccentricities. We can boast that other cities, they don't have the same soul we have.
We want inclusivity and shared growth. And I think that that's where Atlanta has got it right, but also not all the way so right that we didn't get it wrong on a few cases.
We're here at Atlanta City Hall to talk to Andre Dickens about the formation of Atlanta's Department of Transportation. We'll also talk about the role of local government and culture in building up Atlanta as a place of the future.
Yeah, Atlanta's thriving. We are, on the front page, as you say, for technology, TV, film, music. Our culture is rich, and then you add in technology and all the companies that are coming here. We are the Silicon Valley of the South, as some say. I just say we're Atlanta, and Silicon Valley is who they are, and we're who we are. So what I've done with my nonprofit is we created a technology career program where we're training unemployed and underemployed individuals on high skills like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Microsoft Cloud, et cetera, so that they can get a job in this career field. And they won't ever slide back into generational poverty because these are middle income jobs.
So I'm hearing, rumblings of like autonomous vehicles and some of these like solar paved highways in the state. Is the Atlanta DOT getting involved in any of those innovative practices?
The Atlanta DOT will coordinate with the Georgia Department of Transportation as well as our federal partners to be able to bring about the changes that we need in the city and to remain innovative. I think as we are becoming more of a smart city and technology is definitely leading the way, we together with our partners are looking at how we can innovate and be able to foster new technologies into our transportation grid like autonomous vehicles. And so I think that's all part of our future is using technology as well as being sensitive to communities and equity as we grow out this transportation network.
So you've got a startup founder, right? And they're saying, hey, I'm gonna come to Atlanta, I'm gonna find some talent, I'm gonna build up my company there. Where's the first place that you tell them to go to grab a bite and just feel that Atlanta love?
Well, I think one of the best places that you can go is to go to the Gathering Spot.
The space here has created a really interesting thing which encapsulates the great stuff about Atlanta, where you have creatives, you have technologists, you have entrepreneurs, you have government officials, all convening in one spot. And I think the sweet spot for Atlanta is how can we merge all of these different folks that are currently in silos, put them all together to create amazing things. And I love the feeling and the vibe here at the Gathering Spot because you have folks that are coming from all different walks of life, all in one place. And I think that's where sort of the innovation and the cool stuff that we can offer as a city can happen.
Jewel Burke-Solomon is rewriting the typical tech narrative. She's a Black woman with a successful startup and exit under her belt, all while based here in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, we're talking to her about how the city has shaped her success and her plan to shape the future of Atlanta. Like many people in the tech world, you started out in Silicon Valley, out in the Bay Area. How did you wind up choosing Atlanta?
I chose Atlanta really because of family. I wanted to be closer to my family. Atlanta, for me, is kind of like
the one city in the South that I could build and build a business and kind of build a community. So that's why I chose Atlanta.
How did Atlanta shape the company you were able to build?
I was able to find the best engineers coming out of Georgia Tech and really build with a community there at Georgia Tech. And then also I was able to get a lot of talent from a business perspective out of Spelman and Morehouse as well. So I think the university systems that we have here, access to being able to travel to wherever you have to go through the airport, as well as corporations who are sort of our early customers, all of that I think we couldn't have had access to in any other place than Atlanta.
So the typical tech story, it's a tech bro, usually white, usually male. And they launch their business and build it, scale it, what have you. Clearly that's not the case with you. What has been your experience as a woman in technology, a woman of color in technology, and how is that different for you, particularly here in Atlanta?
It definitely made things a lot more challenging for me. I think a lot of people were surprised at the type of technology that I was trying to build, the industry that I was trying to serve. I mean, that was a pretty novel idea, and people couldn't get their head around how can you, as at the time, 23 or 24-year-old Black woman pursue this. And so I had to get comfortable with that and realize that everyone's not gonna be supportive of what I'm doing. Some people are not gonna be able to get their mind wrapped around it, but we have to pursue the mission and make sure that the next time around, it's a lot easier for the folks that are coming up behind me who may look like me and people not be ready for them pursuing the particular businesses that they're pursuing.
Whether traveling for business or pleasure, Atlanta sees its fair share of visitors, all of them curious about where to go when they touch down. Sneakerhead, sports aficionado, and designer Larry Luke is their digital tour guide. He's invited us into his home office today to talk about design, culture, and their impact on the future of Atlanta.
Right now I work for a company called Localor, and they're based in Austin. I'm one of 3 employees for the company, and I work remote 100% of the time.
And what role would you say that diversity and inclusion plays here in Atlanta in the business sector and particularly the tech scene, which is a little different from some of the other tech hubs?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I work at a tech startup, basically, and our founder is Black. And I'm Asian, and then the other employee is a woman. And so we're all like minorities in some way. Right. And we've noticed the trend when it goes to fundraising or whatever, like we just don't get the same kind of nods that other people do, specifically white males that have tech startups. Right. And that's just the way the world is, and we understand that, and we've been able to raise capital and do what we want to do with Localor. But I think that landscape is drastically shifting now because Atlanta is such a diverse city, and Atlanta has people with great ideas that want to create businesses that can help people. It's just amazing to think like how far could you stretch $1 with a founder here in Atlanta versus what somebody might be doing in Silicon Valley. Right. I just think that there are smart people here. There are people that can do a lot with less resources. And I think anyone that's willing to invest in the founders here in Atlanta are going to be pleasantly surprised.
This is Tech Square. It's full of classrooms, corporate offices, and co-working spaces. And of course, a Waffle House. It's where students, startups, and corporate innovators all come together, building the future of Atlanta. I went to grad school in this building right over here, studying business, being right in the epicenter of technology here in Atlanta. It's a great opportunity for students and for those that are building up their startups where we can all intermingle and apply the things we're learning in the classroom, whether it's engineering or marketing or business strategy, and then take that and apply that to actual products that are being developed here at some of the businesses located in Tech Square. While some call it the city too busy to hate, it also has a reputation as the city too busy to remember, demolishing landmarks across the city in favor of posh high-rises or retail redevelopment projects. Couple that with a rising displacement from gentrification, and we've got a recipe for cultural disaster. That's a particular concern because culture is the driving force of commerce and creativity around these parts. Kyle Stapleton knows a thing or two about that as the Senior Manager of Culture and Experience at Turner Studios. What is it that has built up Atlanta's culture over the years?
It's maverick thinkers, right? You can do things here out of the scrutiny of a New York or LA or Chicago. A big, wild, crazy idea can take root because you're almost not thought of, right? That's where the idea of outcast, the name, came from. But you think about your Ted Turners shaping the modern media business. You think about your Maynard Jackson and the obvious one, Dr. King, and the nonviolent social justice movement, one of the most important movements in American history. Those things couldn't happen other places. There are a ton of historical and societal factors and regional factors that go into it, but it's a perfect convergence of factors here in this place.
What other challenges do you see facing the city that could derail all of this potential, all of this progress that's being made?
There's a lot that I'm cautiously optimistic about. People have their eye on Atlanta now. The narrative has started to shift. Industry is moving here to an extent for pragmatic reasons, low cost of living, amazing weather, one of the greenest cities in the country in terms of tree cover and space and all of that. It's a beautiful, very nature-oriented place to live. It attracts a wide mix of people. Our history as a railroad hub and then as an airport city has made us a crossroads of interesting people from all over the country and the world. So we have a lot of different ideas and people converge metaphorically in really interesting ways as they have literally. The thing that I'm cautious about is people who are taking advantage of some of those beautiful things maybe for the wrong reason and then changing the things that have made it great, like the art and culture, and making it less of an affordable and equitable place to live.
What are some of the things that other cities that are maybe in a similar place or a few steps behind, what should they be looking to Atlanta for on guidance on how they can position themselves as a place of the future?
I saw an event pop up on my feed recently that was, is Nashville the next Atlanta? I'm increasingly hearing people ask, is blank the next Atlanta? So much of Atlanta was unplanned and has been reactive to just people knowing that something special is here. The vibe is special. It's like it's rooted in the clay almost. At a street design level, you can see how organic and natural and jazzy this place is. Hey, there was a huge cover story on Black tech founders, and that's a thing that you're not seeing really any other places. People like Jewel Burke-Solomon and Ryan Wilson in a gathering spot. You have Tech Square at Georgia Tech. All of the things that they're doing. People that are bringing people together or they're solving really crazy complex problems, that's really where the future is. The multidisciplinary, hyper-creative, super-driven top talent of the future, they're the thing that give our city an identity and a flavor. People come here looking for that. Where can I find that? Where does that culture live? Atlanta has a really interesting story. It's a deeply imperfect story. So as any city is looking to grow, I would advise them to think really hard about what they want their story to be.
The art of storytelling has been honed over many years in Atlanta, and the next chapter feels like it's been pulled straight from a sci-fi novel. The outcome of that story will depend on how well the city balances its tech industry growth with the creative class that put it on the map in the first place. As the tech ecosystem continues to flourish, its influence approaches that of the city's entertainment and cultural exports. Atlantans always knew they'd be shaping the future. Now, the rest of the world is catching up. From Tel Aviv to Atlanta, the places we've identified here are all challenging something. The status quo of corporate structures, preconceived notions of what innovation looks like, the lure of more established cities. Most important, they're challenging themselves to reimagine life as they know it in pursuit of building the future. Our look at the places of the future comes just as the places of the present have begun losing their luster. When 1/3 of work can be done from anywhere, what does that mean for megacities that have all but priced out the creative class? The redistribution of work and play are slowly chipping away at the gravitational pull of Silicon Valley, London, New York, Bangalore, and many other cities that have shaped the most recent phase of industry. Now, as we stand at the precipice of Industry 4.0, new rules of placemaking emerge. Make that mountain come to you. Create the party, don't chase it. The future of work needn't be a dream located in some glamorous, far-off place. Whether my hometown of Atlanta or places further afield like Nairobi, it's happening in real places that exist right now, today. It could be right where you stand.